So while we have Chandler here, I wanted to take the opportunity to let him talk about a project he's been working on for some time now, and it's a really cool.
Is it a passion project or is it for?
It definitely started out, I would say, as a passion project.
It's the project that I think that you're talking about. It definitely was a passion project.
Yeah.
We're talking about Pick Progress, correct?
The Pick Progress.
Okay.
Yeah. So like.
Talk to us about it. What is it?
So
I think this is the first time I'm hearing about it.
So I appreciate you bringing that up, Dubs, and wanted to talk about it.
I got a sticker on here somewhere.
I can't see the sticker, but.
Yeah, Pick Progress. Okay.
Yeah. So Pick Progress originated in 2019. So I mentioned to you that Dubs and I knew each other because we worked for a nonprofit, and one of the great things about the nonprofit as an employee was getting the opportunity to potentially go to another country that we represented and meet the people that we were working on behalf for. And so I got the opportunity in 2019 to go to Kenya.
Oh, wow.
And it was an amazing trip, especially as a black person.
Okay.
To go back to the origins of the black community for a lot of individuals, for everybody, for the most part, that is black, starting in the kind of the birthplace. And it was just amazing to meet all these individuals. When I got back to the States, I wanted to give back to my community here in the Kansas City area. And so I wanted to do two parts. I have Afro hair, and so I love picks, combs, Afro combs. And I taught myself how to 3D print and put black empowerment phrases on them. So anything from like do the right thing, to unity, to, and I'm trying to think of the revolution will not be televised. All of these kind of historically significant phrases. I just wanted to see what they would look like on a comb. And when I finally got them printed and saw them, I was like, these are amazing. And I printed more than one, so I ended up printing 30 of them. And I was like, even though I got enough hair to put all 30 of them in there, like I probably look like an idiot, walking around, rocking 30 different combs.
It'd look cool on socials.
Yeah, like it would look great.
What is this dude about? And then you read the bio.
It's like he's got a Afro comb mohawk rocking around, and it's like, this is crazy. But I did that, and so
that photo needs to happen. Actually,
we'll get it done after this. But
I like it.
But like after I got done with printing these combs, I thought about how could I give back to the community. So the first version of the project was interviewing over 30 different black individuals about their experiences being black, just asking questions. And what I really just wanted to do was just...
That was when you got back, so not in Kenya, but here in Kansas
City.
Yeah,
back in Kansas City. And all I really wanted to do is just like ask questions where it could be put on a site and you wouldn't feel the potential awkwardness if you aren't black, or even if you are black, of having a conversation or a dialogue with somebody and learning about their experiences. Whether you agree with it or not, it's just like I'm getting an idea of what someone else thinks about these types of social issues and their experiences and different things like that.
That's a good idea.
And so I did that in 2020 during Black History Month. So we posted a interview each day, and it was like transcribed it and had photos of them posing with the combs and different things like that, and it was great. Most recently, so once I got done with the project, I just kind of like put it on the shelf, like metaphorically, and said, I'm done with it. Probably won't touch this ever
Project
again.
Complete?
Yes. And I was proud of it. But and it was right on the, before the pandemic hit. Yeah. So it was just kind of like...
So it's 2019?
No, 2020.
Okay.
So we were right, it was right in that month, and then the pandemic hit, and everybody, was locked away in their houses for the most part, and that was it. And so I was just proud to let it go. Granted, when the social unrest, to put it lightly, happened over in the summer, it was kind of like a perfect way for me to kind of process what was happening, and hopefully it was a perfect site or a great site for people to just go and maybe, again, learn an experience of just having a conversation, especially since I did it before anything was happening with conflict that was happening here in America. But 2023, now I'm part of a board, AIGA KC, and it's the design board. And we had a conversation about this project, and I was like, I've always wanted to like have a conversation about being a Black designer, because it can sometimes be a lonely space when it comes to try and find another person of color or, other people that look like me, and just making sure that like we're having conversations that are meaningful, of making sure that we're represented when it comes to the marketing material that's being created. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we did was basically find different Black creatives around the world to create posters based on the phrases that I had, the 30 phrases that I had from the original project. So instead of the combs, instead of the pics, instead of taking photos of different individuals, we had the artists create like movie style posters based on these phrases. And instead of, 30, I ended up having 73 different artists say yes to this project. And I'm saying everywhere from Amsterdam to the United Kingdom to Houston to LA to Kansas City, all of these artists contributed their talents. And hopefully it's another reminder that talent can be found everywhere, and different perspectives can be found everywhere. And it's just an opportunity to, again, learn about the uniqueness of being a human on this earth, right? The great thing about like even talking to you two is that you come with different perspectives. Mm-hmm. and with Dubs being a creative that I've known for quite some time, the way that he sees design and his preference, and the way that I see design and preference, like I think that we've gotten a fairly good idea of like what we like and don't like, right? Like, or like what like I love when it comes to the design world, and what you love when it comes to the design world, and especially when it's personal projects, what we probably lean towards, and what and how to kind of balance that. And I feel like over time we've probably made each other better, or like at least given the opportunity to look at certain things through the lens of Dubs and through the lens of Chandler.
Absolutely.
To hopefully enhance whatever we're working on, whether it's a work or it's a personal project. And so hopefully this project did that for everyone. Long story short.
When you said that you said when you're in the marketing world as a Black man, and you wanted to see people of color being represented in the marketing materials, did you mean as a content creator of these marketing materials, or did you want to see more people of color being displayed in the marketing projects and materials? Or is it maybe a little bit of both?
So it's probably a little bit of both. I think one of the hard things is like I've sat in meetings where the demographic is on both, like on a variety of ends. So like let's say like being one of like, which is a rare thing. I'll say this is a rare thing. Being one of the only men in the room. So like it being completely flipped, where it's more women than men. But then more times than not being one of the only people of color in the room. And so like it's hard to sometimes give suggestions because everyone wants to be nice on the feedback and not as like transparent. So there's one thing about being like honest and then rude, right? And like, so you can be honest and not have to be rude.
Right.
And I think sometimes I felt like I would give feedback and people would be so nice that like, or would want to avoid being honest, that you start psychologically wondering, hey, like, am I giving a bad idea? Is this a stupid idea? Is no one liking this? Or like, as opposed to just being like, hey, this is not the right time for this. Or, despite you giving all these great suggestions, we're going to go in this direction. And whether I disagree with it like I have to take it in the teeth a little bit and say like, that's fair. Like, I'm not in charge of this. Like, I'm just the, idea
You were
person.
a consultant.
Yes. And so that's where I think I struggle from a perspective of like representation inside the room where it happens. But on the other end, I do feel like sometimes the conversation of, well, we need to appeal to a certain audience, that's where it starts getting interesting and tricky, because it's like, like you can look at it from the money perspective of like, well, this is going to be where we're going to get the most bang for our buck to a certain extent.
You don't want to delve into the land of like when you're looking for a certain target audience, you don't want to make it to where like you're pandering or you're like, cultural appropriation.
Right.
You don't want to disrespect anybody in that line, unless it's just like white chicks and their pumpkin spice lattes. They deserve everything they get.
Well, it's just, I think the fact of the matter is,
don't get me wrong, I don't fucking love pumpkin spice.
I think the fact of the matter is that like the answer to everything, and this is something that like I think about a lot, is the answer to everything, whether it's all your problems, is money. Like it's like the conversation's always going to be the value of what we're getting out of it. And that's what it gets scary because of social issues. Like there is a currency, but it sometimes doesn't like fit on the scale of how much money are we going to get out of this, or how much value we're going to get out of this. So like when it comes to like doing the right thing, right?
Which unfortunately a lot of people struggle with.
Well, because it's like, again, it comes back to like, what am I getting out of this? Or like, will you be willing to sacrifice something that doesn't fully benefit you for somebody else?
The idealist in me, like, wants to stand on top of the hill, wave the flag, and be like, fuck yeah, sacrifice everything to do the right thing.
But when you have a paycheck or as a business, where it's like, well, we're trying to do this for the marketing team. And we know that, again, it kind of goes back to the analytics, or the more that we're trying to analyze stuff, people are going to lean more to the numbers and to the value because they can see it than potentially doing the right thing. And that's the struggle being a designer in the marketing world. Like, it's one of those things where you can see some of the dark side of that type of politics of trying to make the best decisions, because not all the best decisions are based off of doing the right thing. It's based off of the bottom line, the financial gain. And that's frustrating because there's a part of me that wants to be the person that's standing on the soapbox and saying like, let's just do it because we think it's right. And if no one else thinks it's right, they're probably not the people that we want, buying our product. Like, it's just not the thing. Oh, anyway.
Yeah, it's very tricky waters, and the deeper you fathom into those waters, the dangerous those things that are occupying those waters can be, especially like to you professionally and to you personally.
Right, because you kind of, there's times where you have to put your personal opinions to the side and Vince McMahon and do what's best for the business.
Yeah.
And then there's parts where and that's where it's like I'm trying to do a job. I'm also trying to like have a career, right? Like I'm like it's not just if I take a stand today that like tomorrow it won't be a thing. It's going to be like, well, Chandler believes this, and this is going to be the legacy moving forward, potentially in that organization. And if it gets any bigger than that, career-wise. So it's like, do I want to take that potential hit, and am I prepared for it for any personal things that I really want? And it's like, the social issues that I have internally, are those more important fighting for? I'll say this, like even Pick Progress starts getting into territories that like there's possibly, if someone starts searching me online, might keep me from employment in certain things, like potentially, because like, and that's not saying that like I would want to work for them, but like it's just one of those things like, how do I know this might not impact me because I did a project that had good intentions but highlighted people of color, and now people are going to start making assumptions about, well, he feels about this and he feels strongly about this, and he's, you know, and is he good for our organization because he thinks like this? And it's like, that's a scary thing as a person that already struggles to feel comfortable in the room where it's happening.
Yeah.
Let alone, you know, trying to move up.
Feel comfortable in a room where you belong, in a room with a multitude of your peers, of other people that belong there. Like, what in the blue fuck? Like, it's just, it's weird to me. Like, I mean, and then you have to, you would have to worry about, you know, your personal opinions being, you know, put on blast and elevated and amplified and weaponized against you.
It's a struggle, and I think that how can we even get to the table to have conversations about like the real stuff that's like actually like happening in our society and navigate that? And I mean, I guess I would just say for any person that agrees with certain values or disagrees with certain values, like at some point everyone's going to have to come to the table and have a conversation, and it's going to be a compromise. Like no one will ever get like 100% what they want. Like unless you are just going, it's just going to be a bloody war. And that's what it feels like.
We've already got going on.
That's what it feels like we're at now, which is like a scary thing because it doesn't feel like the adults have left the conversation. Like now we're getting back to
the inmates are running the asylum.
Yes, yeah, and it's just like, you know, my way or the highway, and it's like
that's not how progress happens.
That's not how progress happens. That's not how, and maybe it's not even like fully progress. It's just like that's how we just kind of keep the train on the tracks, and it's just keep on, like it's just moving, and it's not perfect. It's not, you know, again, like if you're using the metaphor of a train, it's kind of just set in its ways. Yeah. And it's not gonna get you. It's not
one direction.
Yeah, it's not gonna get you on the road that you might want to be on. But it just was like, okay, well, we know that we're moving this way, and that's fine, and that's okay. And I bring it back to kind of the pick progress thing, where it's like it's just an opportunity to hear what people are thinking. It's not saying that you need to agree with them or don't agree with them, but at least you had a conversation with them, or you got to entertain hearing what a different perspective has. And hopefully, you know, you learn something and then are able to utilize it in your everyday life of being able to think differently.
Yeah, and if you've learned something, you didn't just hear it, you actually listened.
Yeah,
I think there's a distinction to be made between hearing something and actually listening to it. So, like, or listening to the perspective. So, where can we find Pick Progress? Where is this a website? Is it on socials?
It's a website. So there is social that you can find it at pickprogressproject.com and also pickposters.com. So the site will be the same. It might be easier to type in saying pickposters.com, but it's just going to lead you to Pick Progress. And you'll get to see all 73 posters and over 30 different interviews that we've had throughout the past 3 years, the history of the project. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share about it.
Yeah. And you also have that linked on your Kalamazoo site also,
yeah,
right?
So I'll say it now. You can find Sir Chandler Johnson. I'm not knighted, but I'm hoping to be by the time that this recording's released.
Let's see if we got some strings to pull.
Yeah, I'll call Paul McCartney and see what he can do for me. But you can find me at kalamazoo.com. That's KALIMIZZOU.
In the closing, I hope I don't fuck this up.